Jana, Mascha,
Hi.
here we are. We're still in Nafpaktos. We've just talked to Chris, and now we're really excited to get to speak to you as well. Welcome to the finish line. How are you feeling?
Thank you so much. Well, I'm feeling great. I slept 2 hours and I had a shower and I washed my hair, so I'm great.
We were sort of laughing before that when you look you up and down, you almost couldn't tell that you just did like a 880-kilometer bike race. Sleep deprivation suits you, you may say.
Thank you so much, but I have a lot of scratches on my legs and my arms, and yeah, I think I have a little bit sleep to catch up with.
Yeah, no way. Because you only arrived here just a couple of hours ago, and you've had a chance to do a quick freshen up, but I suppose you're still a little bit tired.
Yeah, it took me a long time to have a shower actually, because I turned on like the water in the wrong direction and I waited like several minutes that the water heats up and it was like cold, cold, cold. And it was like, no, I will not have a cold shower after this race. So I was standing there like for 10 minutes after I realized maybe I just switched the thing. Yeah.
These things can be difficult.
Yeah.
So just like Chris, there's a big journey to sort of go through, and I don't want to. We've got to take it a little bit piece by piece. I'm looking forward to hearing about it. You know, I know that we met earlier this year at Atlas Mountain Race. So you've had pretty big year already. So I guess just wanting to know a little bit about sort of, I guess after Atlas, and how you were feeling between Atlas and Hellenic coming into this race, because you had a bit of a full circle moment during Atlas, also thinking about Hellenic. So how has it been in the months between as you built up to the race?
Like Atlas took me a while to digest,
Yeah.
honestly. Like being stuck in the desert alone in the middle of the night, that stuck to my head quite a long time. And it made me realize that I really have to work on my mental preparation or my mental setup, like a skill setup, just to help myself to lift the mood if it's bad, or to get myself out of bad situations. Yeah. And Hellenic, like from all three races Nelson is organizing, like Hellenic was always the race I felt most attracted to.
Oh, why is that?
I think it's a combination of being in Greek and also the climbing. Like, I love the climbing, and yeah, I don't know, sometimes you just feel attractive to something, and Hellenic was it for me, yeah.
Cool. And you felt like, aside from the mental stuff, that in the run up that you were sort of physically feeling pretty strong. That you'd done a few little mini races and little longer training rides. So you felt like coming into it that you were feeling strong physically.
Because of Atlas, I knew I can ride for several days, like quite tough or quite hard. But like honestly, I didn't felt that strong than I felt before Atlas.
Okay.
I don't know why. I felt different, like not that powerful, but like more endurance performing maybe. But I knew I can be confident that I can push on several days in a row. Yeah.
And then I guess the question is, like, if the mental was the bit that you really wanted to be focusing on, were there sort of active techniques that you were thinking about going into it, that you knew could help you to stay stronger on your mental game?
Well, of course, I listen to music. I have like one or two special playlists. They really lift my mood, or they are a safe space for me. Or sometimes just hear a friend at the phone. Yeah.
Okay. So you knew you had to try and employ some different things if things are going wrong. Stick on your Dua Lipa,
Yeah.
talk to some friends, and just try and hit the reset button a bit easier.
Yes, and always have like a little bit of sugar first, and then solve the problem when you have a problem.
That's great. I guess the other question I was also wondering coming into this, because I don't necessarily know this about you, is it's a pretty technical race.
Yeah.
So do you have a bit of a mountain bikey background? Is that something you feel confident about?
That's a good question. I think that was my biggest weakness, was the downhill here,
Okay.
because I don't have a mountain bike background.
Right.
And like when Chris passed me at the downhill, I was so impressed. He was like double as fast as I. I was walking at that point because it was so slippery and small. And like for sure that's something I have to work on. Yeah. I need more technique downhill. Yeah.
Cool. Okay. But you were just like winging it where we were and going with what you got, kind of thing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, I love climbing. I try to have like a very light bike and pack very light. So I know my that I can climb fast. and then I have to try not to be the slowest in the downhill.
I feel like there was a bit of there's a small theme in our conversations that
Yeah.
we had in Atlas, which is where maybe you were kind of lacking a bit of confidence.
Yes.
And in some ways, when we would talk about it, I would maybe think that, like, sometimes I wondered a bit if it was like a bit of a fuel for you to like maybe you were worried that you weren't capable, but then you kind of wanted to prove that you were, even just to yourself.
Yeah.
Do you think that is the case, and do you think that in this race that you felt more assured in yourself after your recent experiences?
Yeah. I think my biggest enemy is myself. Like I always try to beat myself and to be better than I was last time. And at Atlas I was not really happy with my overall performance, like how I solved specific situations or how I felt or how I dealt with whatever. And like my focus here was like to do this better, like to feel good, to enjoy the view and the country, but also to race fast and just be smart, don't make mistakes.
Yeah, work smarter, not harder.
Yeah.
And then, okay, so now we get into the race a bit, like rolling up to the start line, like everyone's all jazzed, you have your stuff together on your bike, and you sort of set off on your way. How was this first section for you in the race? This day where we got kind of the crazy rainstorm and everyone was kind of affected by this. Like, how was this first section for you as you moved through?
Well, I don't like the start of races, honestly. It's always hectical and it's not fun. Like my heart rate is way too high for the first few hours, like beating as fuck. And the adrenaline makes my legs weak. So I really need a few hours to settle in. Yeah, well, the first night was tough. I thought like I'm at the wrong place, right? Middle in the, I mean, it was raining like crazy. It was fucking cold, way colder than expected. Stuck in the forest with this huge amount of mud. Not really fun, honestly, like the first night. I was happy that I caught a room at Kippi, because like sleeping outside was just not an option. Because like I knew like 2 hours sleeping in the cold is like, yeah, you can just don't do it. But like having a shower and like have 2 hours of good sleep in a bed will keep you going. Yeah.
I remember we saw you on the morning after your night in Kippi, and I will say that I think this maybe comes into this idea of mental game again. Although you'd had a really hard night before, you seem pretty happy. You know, like obviously it had been a hard time, but you were moving forward and you were kind of shrugging it off a little bit.
Yeah, I think it was the first situation where I thought, okay, you made the right decisions and you acted like right. Caught a room, had a shower, slept a little bit, more than expected, but better than nothing.
I will also say that during this first part of the race, like around towards CP1, Emma Misali was pretty close, like really not too far the whole time. Were you checking the trackers at the time?
No, honestly, myself, I was not checking the tracker at all. Like when I caught my mom on the phone, she gave me an update about everything, especially the guys in the front. She was not watching very closely.
Shout out to mom.
Yeah. But no, I was not worried because it was not my main focus to be first woman. For there, no.
Yeah. So you're just trying to keep on rolling.
Yeah.
And then that whole section round towards Metsovo, it was very challenging terrain, as a lot of this race was. But how was it to get around that section back towards after CP1 and towards Metsovo?
It's hard for me already to remember the different sections. It's all messed up in my head. But I think it was pretty okay. Like there was not really a section where I really struggled. Like
Or maybe you remember how much you were struggling in a few days' time, but for now you're like, it was fine.
Yeah, probably, yeah.
Did you sleep at all at CP1?
Did I sleep at CP1?
After Dragon Lake, and you come down the single track, and you do the hike up there.
I did a hike up there. No, I didn't sleep at CP1. I had a big plate of pasta and a vegetable soup, and it really saved my life at that point.
Sweet.
Yeah, and then I like ride on for 20 more Ks and caught a room like in the small town there. Because there was still a little bit of sunlight left and I wanted to use all the light.
I seem to remember this as well, that you were, maybe at some point we had this conversation where you were saying that, like, especially in the conditions as they were, like, you weren't super keen on sleeping outside.
No.
And you did bring a sleep setup of some kind though?
Yeah, I had like emergency BB and blanket and like some warm stuff, but sleeping outside in the cold and the wet is not my favorite, no.
Okay. And you kind of caught it lucky that you managed to stay inside for a lot of the race now.
Yeah, I only sleep like one time outside in front of a small restaurant. That was funny, like the restaurant owner was like a little bit surprised that I asked him if I can sleep there, but he was fine with it, and yeah, I slept there for 3 hours and then continued there.
It's also like the weirdest thing to be asked now, like, you got like this extremely expensive bicycle and extremely expensive gear, and you're like, do you mind if I just dirt nap it outside your hotel? I'm only going to be 3 hours. It's also a weird part, no? And then I'm going to just continue at 1 a.m. all the way to the night. But it's good that he was accepting of it.
Yeah, and I think it was a perfect mixture for me for sleeping inside and one outdoor experience. Like that really worked well. Yeah.
I'm sort of thinking a bit more about the checkpoint experiences, like section by section.
Yeah.
CP1 to CP2, I think, was maybe for a lot of people the most. All of it was really scenic, no? But these sections between Metsovo and into the valley before you hit these like massive climbs before checkpoint 3, like, and at this point, you could see your lead kind of increasing a little bit. And I know you're saying you're not that it wasn't so important to you, but there was also must have been a point during that section where you started to feel like this is going okay, right?
Yeah, I love the section between CP1 and CP2, like this mountain pass, like this 3 little peaks. It was like incredible. I really enjoyed it. I was completely alone riding that day.
Okay.
And I listened to music. I was just in my own headspace, just sucking in all like this positive environment. It was amazing.
Yeah, really, that was like it was nice for you to be alone during that time.
Yes, it was definitely one of my highlights. Yeah.
Do you feel like maybe when you have too many people around that it can be a bit stressful?
Yeah, or at least it has to be the right people around. Right?
True.
I mean, I enjoy riding in company, and especially at night. It's nice sometimes to catch up with someone and to have a little chat and like lift the mood or whatever. Like stay motivated. But yeah, I was riding more or less a lot alone this race. Yeah.
But I guess, like we said, like that's something that allowed you to have a little bit less distractions from the outside of like, the other people sort of like maybe throwing you off your game or making you think that things aren't going well.
Yeah, totally. And you can more concentrate on yourself, and I think that makes you faster actually.
Yeah. I had somebody ride next to me in a race, and I called him the harbinger of doom, because every time I saw him, he would say things like, "There's a huge storm coming. There's all this terrible stuff about to happen," and I'd be like, "Leave me alone."
Yeah, I mean, I can't change it anyway, right?
Yeah. Was there a part of the route that you felt like you were most concerned about in terms of like remoteness or anything like this?
There was not really this huge concern this time. I had enough food with me. Like having enough food is always like give me a little bit of safe space. So I really carry way more food than most of the other riders do. But it helps me to feel safe. And besides that, like sleeping setup is also important for feeling safe, at least for me. And rain jacket, something warm.
So you feel like, as long as you have the right supplies on you, then no section is too intimidating, because you know that you can deal with it when you make it.
Yeah, especially here, because like you could find water all over the place, and that was also giving like a big safety net. Yeah. So I was completely independent and not necessary to reach like a small city or village or whatever. Also, I was very happy when I had like some real food, like at the CPs or like at Castagna.
Yeah, that's checkpoint 3, no?
Checkpoint 3, and then like this, where
the little secret one.
The little secret one. My shelter in the thunderstorm. That was also one of the highlights. This lovely couple running this place. Yeah.
So I feel like, like we saw you the last time yesterday morning, crack of dawn,
Yes.
and you made it into the checkpoint just by around midnight. We sort of I know that the checkpointers were kind of waiting for you to come in because it was exciting to have the first female there. Did you feel when you were going to bed that night? Did you allow yourself any extra rest because you knew you had healthy lead and things like this? Were you at this point where you were trying to just like not focus on any of that stuff and just focus on what you needed?
Not really. Well, I slept 4 hours. That's a lot. Would I have arrived later, I would only have slept 3 hours because I wanted to use the complete daylight.
Okay.
So it was clear for me that I will be latest on the bike at 5:30 or so. So I estimated my sleep time depending on my arrival time.
Okay. Yeah.
But no, of course I wanted to keep my position at that point.
Yeah. I think also like German precision, like you were out the door at like 5:32. But I remember seeing you there and it being this feeling of like, that feeling of like we're so close but still so far to go, and you have this trepidation of like, you could feel it a little bit. It was like, today's gonna be a long day.
It's gonna be a long day.
Yeah.
Like seeing like it's only 170 or only 180k to go feels short in a race like around 900k. But like when you calculate the amount of hours you have to spend on the bike with an average speed of, I don't know, 10k per hour or whatever, it's like, wow, I have to spend the next 18 to 20 hours at least on the bike.
It's intimidating.
And that's,
How do you process that when you were leaving the hotel, knowing that kind of in the background of your head?
I try to push it very in the back of my head and not to think about too much.
Just listen to your music and take it one step at a time.
Yeah. And sometimes make the day into sections, like have like the morning section and then lunch and then until the evening. And,
So you have like 3 different days, but it's also all the same day.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah.
And then you get up to towards the end point, and I guess like it's the same as I was asking Chris, like at what point did you start to feel those waves of relief when you start to realize like we're really nearly there, and you can sort of feel the finish line actually start to become a reality rather than a sort of distant. Where does it go from like the back of the head to the front,
Like riding into the last climb, I think.
Okay. Yeah.
Then I thought like, okay, it's reachable, and I hopefully will not have a mechanic or something that will make me scratch anymore. So I can do it. And then it's just like, of course you want to get it done at one point.
It's like the whole point.
Yeah, of course, but like you reached only like a point where you just want to get the shit over with. Like, and that for me was the last fucking climb. I just want to get over that.
Done.
Yeah, those last 15k uphill, like I had stomach cramps. I couldn't really drink or eat anymore, so I didn't have much power to push. So I walked quite a lot, and that was annoying because it's so slow.
But then you have it in your mind that like, okay, it's like really, really nearly done now.
Yeah. So I will be in bed or have a shower at latest at the end of the night.
And then how was the feeling as you came in, as you sort of descended into this very beautiful town? You sort of reached the streetlights, and
the view was stunning from the from the mountain, because you could see all the lights of the city. It was a little bit sad that I was not like later. It would have been amazing to see the sunrise.
It would have been an awful evening though.
Yeah, totally. I would not change that. But like I just was imagine like how beautiful it has to be, like seeing the sunrise. And also like going down this long descent, like always seeing the lights. That was pretty stunning. Of course the hands were hurting from all the braking. And I stopped one time to give my hands a rest.
Okay.
Because I didn't want to crash. Like I thought the stupid thing is to crash at the finish line, basically.
Yeah.
No, it was. And then the smell. You come down to the city and you smell like the ocean and the pines, and like that was magic. Yeah.
And then the finish line. How was this?
That was just unreal, honestly. Like like this realization, okay, and it's done, and now, like, that always feels like weird, like in between different worlds, like you leave one world and enter again, like in the normal world, and that's weird.
I feel like as well, like you were talking about at the beginning of like, you know, the Atlas took a little bit of time to process because a lot of stuff happened and you weren't so happy with your mental game. Do you feel, I mean, first of all, do you feel like overall your mental game has taken this big notch of improvement compared to back then? Because it was only like 3 months ago, you know?
Definitely, it changed a lot. I'm way more confident in myself.
I feel it, you know, and I can hear it.
And I'm like, I really have only positive feelings with Hellenic, and that's impressive.
Cool. Some people might go back to some of our earlier interviews.
Of course I hated the first night, and I suffered there for sure, and also at the last climb. But all in all, it was like in a range that is good manageable. And like at Atlas, like I was really panicking at the night alone, like that really.
And the nights this time were much better, no?
Yep, but I also had my side cut in the tire also at night. So I was like shortly reminded to Atlas and was like, fuck, what should I do? Should I cry first or first prepare? So I decided to wake up, I think, a friend in the middle of the night just to call her on the phone and like, okay, tell me something, I have to fix my bike. And I can't be alone at the moment. Like
it's like a really cool, big. It's kind of a big full circle moment though, because this was a big moment for you when you had this kind of cleat disaster in the desert in Atlas. It was a full breakdown moment in a way, and then you were able to have another mechanical moment here, and you just adapted and went with it. You must be really proud of yourself. It
feels like I grow, or I could handle this situation very good. Like, and that makes me stronger, I think, for the future.
I start giggling to myself because I'm thinking like normal human beings would pay hundreds of euros worth of therapy to get to this point of self-confidence from there to here, and you just like, you know, destroyed yourself on a bike across a couple of countries, and you just like skipped a bunch of stages, and now you're here, you know.
Well, I hope I can keep it.
And then, so that I guess now it's sort of thinking about I remember this thing of like in Atlas, it took a while to process and get to the end. And there was a point when we spoke in Morocco where you said that like you're not sure if you would do another one of these races again, but you also kind of knew in the back of your head that you'd have a bit of time to process and you would come back to it. And it was relatively quick. Now you've been here for what, like 10 hours or something like this. Like, how do you feel about the experience already, and also sort of going forward to the potential of future races now?
I think I want for sure make more events, but I also want to find a balance between bikepacking holidays and racing.
Cool.
I think only racing is a little bit tough.
A little bit,
Maybe a little bit. But there is something I love about it, I'm not sure what it is. Like destroying myself completely and be fucked for several days. But I just want to find a good balance. And maybe not always like the toughest races, right? There are also some races that are like a little bit more gentle or a little bit more enjoyable. But maybe Kyrgyzstan next year, we will see.
But not this year.
Not this year, I don't have enough holidays.
I think like, for me, I think one of the really rewarding parts of going towards your journey is having seen your experience in Atlas as well. And I think there's been a lot of personal growth in you in the last couple of months, and to see that personal growth manifest itself into like real term success that you can take home with you is amazing. So again, on a personal note, I want to tell you I'm super proud of you, and congratulations.
Thank you so much. It's always like a pleasure to see you during the race, honestly. Like, I love that you slept on the couch at CP3 just to catch me in the morning.
Needs to know. I'm a professional. It's not about me. But thank you so much for talking to us, and I'll let you get back to sleep.
Thank you.
Ciao.
Bye.